How's it going, YouTube? It's Evo from Automobile Passion, and today we're going to be making a video on should you buy this car or should you not. If you haven't seen my previous video, it's on the BMW N62 engine, 745, 545, etc. If you guys are interested in that, you should go check it out. It's pretty informative. It's pretty, pretty funny. Actually, it's kind of a funny video, but nonetheless, today we're going to be talking about the Audi A4 and in particular the B7 generation, which went from 2005 to 2008. Those are the model years. Now, just some history. Before this car, we had the B6, which was from 2001 to 2005. And the way I like to see the B7 is sort of like a B6.5, because it's honestly just a really heavily facelifted Audi B6. The front end has the different, like the bigger grille. You have the different taillights in the back and whatnot, but sort of the back, like the trunk's a little bit different, the bumper. But honestly, it's really just a B6 with like different bumpers and like a few minor trim adjustments. The interior is virtually the same, just I guess different. The gauges, you have to really looking for them. The gauges are a little bit different, like the needles and the tack and the speedometer, they're a little bit different. But that's honestly pretty much it. But what we're going to be discussing here is the 2-liter turbo FSI engine that came with this car. And you could have gotten it in a few different variations. You could have gotten it with just a front-wheel drive base model, which had the CVT transmission. You also could have got it with the 2-liter Quattro system, the 2-liter turbo with the Quattro system that had all-wheel drive and had a regular automatic. Or you could have actually got it in, if I'm wrong, correct me, it was a 6-speed manual you could have got it in. And if you had that with the Quattro, I think that's a pretty cool setup to have, because the 6-speed manual with Quattro, that sounds pretty fun. Because let's be honest, your front-wheel drive cars with manuals, they're fun, but they're not as fun as this car could have been. And the 2-liter, don't get me wrong with this video, I like the engine. It's a cool engine, and it's actually really peppy. It only has 200 horsepower, but it feels like it has a lot more, honestly, because once it picks up and boost, it's pretty quick. I like it, but nonetheless, everything has faults. It's a machine. So this had faults, and one of the biggest faults was actually the aluminum head would, I don't want to say break because that sounds bad, but it would get scratched from the camshafts from not enough oil being up there. So the oil pan, you have the and it escapes my mind, but I think it's the sump. It takes the oil from the oil pan, it takes it up to the head. Well, the issue is that that gets clogged up, and there's also this thing on the back of the engine head. It's called the timing chain tensioner. That it's plastic and it'll break, and then the timing chain would not be pushed. And I'm actually doing the movement with my hands. What happens, that also brings up oil into the head. That would also not, and then all it takes is for you to turn the key for 2 to 3 seconds, try to crank the engine over, and then the head is done. Not like most heads, you can machine this, but you can't weld aluminum. Once the grooves have been scratched up, you can't weld that. And the issue is when you start the car up, it makes this really loud ticking noise. The car already ticks normally because of the fuel injection, but now it makes an even worse noise. It's like it's really loud, and that's because the head is the grooves have scratches on them, or like deep scratches that you can't just weld and groove over. It doesn't work. It's aluminum. You can't weld aluminum. That's the main issue of this car, and it costs. It depends on shop to shop. It varies. I've seen people do it for $1,500. I've seen people do it $2,500. I've even seen some shops on the forum tell other people on the forums that it costs $5,000. I had one of these, and I had that issue, so I was looking around, but thankfully my father is a mechanic, and he fixed the car, and I just ended up selling it after that. But how you remedy that issue is, honestly, you have to change the engine, because the head, it's so hard to find. I've called LKQ. They don't sell the head. They sell you the whole engine. I've called junkyards. It's really rare to find this particular engine in a junkyard, but from an Audi. This engine is also in the Volkswagen Passat 2-liter turbo, 2006, 2008 generation. It escapes my mind what the code name for it was. It's also in the Jetta, again from I think 2005 to 2008, 2-liter turbo, same engine there. So if you can get that, if you can find that engine in a junkyard, take the whole thing, just take it, and then you could probably sell it for a lot, because people on eBay want $2,000 just for the head alone, because you can't find it anywhere, and it's expensive. So what a lot of people do is they'll buy these cars from the auction, like Copart, Mannheim, salvage cars that there's no point of fixing them. They're just beyond repair, and they'll take the engine out. They'll sell the engine, or they'll just sell the engine in parts. Like they'll sell the head, they'll sell all this other stuff, and that's how they make their money because the head is in demand. Now, some minor issues that you should look out when you go look at this car is that it'll burn oil. After a while, it'll just start doing it. The turbo will do it. It'll burn oil, and you'll just have to keep adding it. That's a lot of these Volkswagen, Audi turbo engines do it. The 1.8 also did it. I've seen a lot of people online complain about it. If I'm getting anything wrong, please feel free to correct me in the comments. That's how I learn. Other people will learn. But it's something that I guess turbo cars just do it. Another issue that I guess you can see is that since this is the FSI fuel injection, what this car will do is if you don't run it with the exact 91 octane, 93 octane, depends on where you live. I live in Nevada, so there's 91 octane the max. California, I think it's also 91, but there's few rare places we could find 93. Maybe I think the East Coast has 93. Yeah, they have 93. But if you use anything less, like lower grade fuel, like 87, 89, it'll actually harm the engine more because what the injection does is that the gas won't burn and it'll actually become it'll become carbon buildup. It'll pretty much just build up on the valves, and then you'll get a little check engine light that pretty much just says you have a misfire. And when you floor the car, it won't have as much power because of the intake being clogged up, or not the intake, the valves. So that to be fixed, it's actually the takeoff process to get to it's actually not that hard. It's like 6 or 8 bolts holding the intake on. You take the intake off the throttle body, you take the injectors out, and you can see the valves. The issue is that to clean that, it's very, very, very hard because it's like black sludge or black tar that's pretty much just glued onto the head or like the valves. And the way a lot of people do it, and I've seen my father do it in his mechanic shop, they use walnuts or like grounded walnuts, and you have to use them on a pressurized machine. It'll just spray it in there and it'll clean it off. I don't know. I've seen it once and it blew my mind that people use walnuts to clean it, but it's a thing. So before you jump on buying one of these cars, I would definitely say, and it's not just for this car, it's for every car you should buy. You should get a PPI, pre-purchase inspection. But for this car especially, have them check the engine, have them check the condition, if it's burning oil, see how much it would cost to fix if you're still wanting to buy the car and whatnot. And just a few other things I guess we could cover is the transmission, the CVT transmission. There's a module, the transmission control module is on the back of the transmission, and it'll go out. I think it's a common problem. I've seen it on a few Audis at my father's shop. I've seen it sometimes on the forum. People talk about it. It just goes bad, and the car goes into what they call this limp mode, where it only stays in like sort of like one gear, if you want to call it that, where it won't let you go above a certain speed because it's malfunctioning. It just wants you to get to a safe spot, so you could say you have the car towed or whatnot to the dealer. The way you change that is you just change the TCM out, transmission control module. You just change it out. You lift the car on a jack, and you could see the module. You just take some covers off, and it's there. You take it off, you put it back in, and then you actually have to use a program on a diagnostic program to program, and you can't just use any just old OBD program. It has to be an actual Audi program. I know that there's this thing called a VCDS, and I think you pay for it online. You download it, and you can use it. They'll even send you the cable. So that's really, that's sort of the gist of it. What I think of this car, I like these cars. Like I said, I had one, and it's a quick car. It's a really fun car to use, but when you have those kind of issues, you have to ask yourself, is it really worth it or not? Because these cars, they've declined in the market over the past few years. I've seen one, I think it had like 99,000 miles on Auto Trader. Somebody wanted 6,000 for it. That was last year. I don't know. I think it's gone down now. The market generally ranges from 3,000, I want to say, to about $6,000-$7,000. So it's not like an expensive car by any means. It's a well-priced car, but sometimes there's a reason it's like $3,000, and that's because the issue is with the engine or the issues with the transmission. You always have to look for it, and you don't want to get stuck paying for a car that it's going to cost you $5,000-$10,000 to fix when the car is only worth $4,000. If that makes So, if you like these, definitely, I don't discourage anybody from buying them. I think they're pretty cool cars. You should go check them out. But Really be careful when you're looking at one, because they could be a pain in the, in the rear end, or just anything. They had a few body styles. They had the sedan, obviously the four-door, and then in 2007 they released a convertible, and that actually ran to 2009, which is when the new B8 generation came out in 2009. So it's kind of weird for me. When I first saw it, I was like, what? But 2007, 2009, it's a convertible. They also had a wagon, station wagon. Those are pretty cool. I think having like the wagon version with a 6-speed manual and the quattro system, that'd be a pretty cool car to have. Like, no joke. But honestly, you just have to look at the car when you're buying it. Make sure you don't buy a lemon or buy a junk car that you're just gonna have issues with, and it's gonna cost you way more to fix than it's possible. So if you're looking for this body style, but you're looking for a more pep car, I would recommend going for the S4, which has the 4.2 liter natural aspirated V8. And then the top of the line of the B7, I guess, generation is the RS4, which is a really, really cool car. But they're expensive. I think they're in the $20,000-$30,000 range. But that's a manual, 6-speed manual V8 natural aspirated. Sounds glorious. If you check out some videos online, the car just sounds amazing. So that's pretty much all I have today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I guess the next video will probably be on the Mercedes E-Class, or just the engine in general. I forgot the code name for it, but it's the 350 engine. Came out 2007. It ranges from about 2007 to, I want to say, 2010, because then after they updated and fixed it. So we're going to be talking about that next time. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a great day. Thank you.